Decades ago, a collaboration in fiberglass produced some of Wendell Castle's most unique designs. About 30 years ago, the speaker's husband worked for Wendell Castle in his woodworking studio. He and his cousin later started their own company, Fibertech, specializing in fiberglass work. Wendell Castle approached them to manufacture his chairs. This collaboration led to the production of Wendell Castle's furniture by their company. Modern furniture is rarely featured on the Roadshow, making this instance notable. Wendell Castle is recognized as a leading American wood furniture craftsman. His work goes beyond traditional craftsmanship, reaching new levels of artistry. The chairs were produced for a brief period, around 1969 to 1970. Few of these chairs were made, making them relatively rare and sought after today. Increased interest in post-war design has also contributed to their value. The chairs include the molar chair, known for its molar-like shape, and the yellow castle chair. An original detail is the rubber gasket along the bottom. Colorful examples of these chairs are valued between $1,200 and $1,800, while the black one might be worth slightly less.
Wow.
The guest brought some rare Tiffany pieces, one of which was pastel glass vase crafted in the 1920s, showcasing a stunning flower design. This piece was part of a later production line featuring a range of colors, including pink, blue, yellow, and wisteria. Another vase bore the mark, exhibition piece, and dated to around 1915, possibly created for the San Francisco International Exhibition. Its unique morning glory painting and flawless condition make it a highly valuable collector's item.
Louis Tiffany himself, who was a painter, came into the glassworking shop, handed them a painting of morning glories that he had painted and said, "I want you to make this in glass." Wow.
The original shipping crate was also present, marked with the Louis C. Tiffany Studios address. This crate would be a prized possession for any Tiffany enthusiast, and along with the glass vases they were appraised at.
The crate, in a retail setting, this is something for Tiffany geeks everywhere, collectors, museums. They would actually be very excited about this, and it would be worth between $5,000 and $10,000.
Holy cow.
This piece, which is not as sought after as some of the other art glass, would retail in probably between $2,000 and $3,000. But this piece, in a retail shop, it could be sold for anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000.
No way. Oh my gosh. I was thinking maybe 8 to 10.
The true showstopper, however, was the Tiffany lava vase, featuring a mesmerizing molten lava design with protrusions. This vase was a masterpiece, similar to the one showcased in the 1906 Paris Salon exhibition, now housed in the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris. The lava vase's value lied in its exceptional craftsmanship and unique design, making it a true treasure for collectors and museums being appraised at.
An example like this in a retail shop could sell between $100,000 and $150,000.
Where's my brother? Wow. That's unbelievable. I had no idea.
The guest brought a teapot that had been passed down through generations from mother to daughter since its creation in the 18th century. Elias Pelletro, a Huguenot silversmith, crafted the teapot on Long Island around 1760 to 1765. Teapots from this period were small due to the high cost of tea in the 18th century.
After the Revolution and the Boston Tea Party, tea became less popular, and a lot of the more patriotic families bought coffee pots instead. But this dates, I would say, from the period just before the Revolution.
The teapot's maker's mark EP was rare and indicated it was crafted by Pelletro, not a later electroplated piece. Initials D for David and P for Phoebe on the base were likely those of the original owners and the guest's ancestors. The teapot was probably part of a set including a creamer and sugar bowl, now separated. The teapot's patina and color are well preserved, despite showing signs of use. A complete tea set would be worth more, but this single teapot is still significant due to its rarity and provenance, and its value was estimated at.
And I would say, at the moment, this is worth somewhere in the region of $20,000, probably.
That's nice to know.
The guest's father-in-law, a high school art teacher, collected posters and produced them during World War II. So, the guest inherited this circus poster from him and had kept it for 10 years. Larger than usual, it was a rare 4-sheet size and featured a stamp on the back indicating its size. Pasted together from 4 separate sheets, it was not linen mounted, making the printed information on the back visible. It was printed by the renowned Strawbridge Litho Company, which adds to its value. The poster promoted animal trainer Alfred Court, but a separate piece of paper covered the name of earlier trainer Terrell Jacobs.
That Terrell Jacobs, who was literally known as the Lion King, who worked for 16 different circuses throughout the course of his life, only worked for Ringling Brothers in 1938 and 1939.
The poster was later adapted for Alfred Court, who worked for the Ringling Brothers from 1940 to 1945. Due to its larger size and rarity, the guest's poster was estimated to be.
A conservative estimate for this would be between $3,000 and $4,000.
Ooh, good.
A 1954 Peanuts Sunday strip was purchased by the guest Mo Willems and his wife on their paper anniversary 22 years ago. Mo Willems himself is a celebrity American writer, animator, voice actor, and children's book author.
Where he has created a number of popular children's characters over the past 2 decades, including Elephant and Piggy, Wilbur the Naked Mole Rat, and a certain pigeon who should not be allowed to drive the bus.
This strip, titled Peanuts, featured characters that drove interest. Schultz's artwork in this early strip showcased his developing style. He planned to donate it to the Schultz Museum eventually. The museum aims to collect and showcase as many strips as possible. The strip had been in the guest's possession for 22 years, making it fresh to market. The guest paid a couple $1,000s for it, but didn't want to know its current value. Noting its cultural significance, the appraiser estimated its value at.
If this was at auction today, I estimate it somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000. And I'll continue just by saying that that's a conservative estimate, and some of these have sold. I'm not saying this one, but there have been Sunday pages topping the $100,000 mark. I would certainly try to make sure it's included on an insurance policy.
Right.
Use the $100,000 mark as an insurance value.
I'll do that.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Great,
Really
it was
fun
a real
meeting
joy.
you.
These 2 vintage penny banks, hailing from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They went to Richmond, Virginia, where the family had treasured them. A cast iron material used to create these banks was a unique feature of American toy manufacturing. This renowned company, J&E Stevens, based in Cromwell, Connecticut, crafted this bank.
We know J&E Stevens Bank always because it had this kind of circular coin trap.
The first bank, titled Indian Shooting Bear, is a testament to the late 19th century fascination with the American Wild West. The bank features a detailed mechanism that allows the Indian figure to shoot a penny at a bear. A unique feature is the ability to insert a cap to create a sound effect, adding to the play experience. The second bank, Hen and Chick, is a more whimsical piece. It depicts a hen and her chick, and the penny is deposited by pulling a lever. At auction, these items are valued with an estimated worth of.
I would estimate at $4,000 to $5,000.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea. Oh my goodness.
A captivating watercolor painting is present in the show. This incredible painting is passed down through generations. Depicted is a family portrait of 3 generations: a mother, her baby girl, her husband, and the mother-in-law.
The primary way that people had images of their families.
It was revealed that the painting had been discovered by the guest's grandmother's hope chest after her passing. Intrigued by the painting's origins and the artist's identity, the guest sought the expertise of the appraiser. As initially assumed, that the artist was not a man, but she was a woman named Jane Anthony Davis. This artwork was beautifully inscribed with the name of the subjects, like town, date, and the artist's signature, J.A. Davis. Additionally, the guest provided a photograph of the family taken in Nebraska at a later time. At auction, the estimated value of the painting would be between
This unusual triple portrait and the single portrait would be $25,000 to $35,000.
That's very nice. My husband will be very surprised.
This guest presented 2 unique ethnographic pieces to the show. As a former flight attendant interested in anthropology, the guest acquired the items during her travels at a local store. The first piece, a comb adorned with the figurative element known as akwaaba, was purchased in Ghana during a layover. Interestingly, the akwaaba was traditionally carried by women to ensure fertility. The second piece, a pre-Columbian ceramic artifact, was purchased at a local store in Indianapolis. Initially, it was believed to be a reproduction, but it was later determined that it was an authentic 20th century piece. This artifact was identified as originating from the Guinea-Cast Nicoya region of Costa Rica and dated between 1000 and 1500 AD.
During the firing process, the pressure builds up inside. If it didn't have a vent hole, it would explode.
Despite some wear and tear, the artifact was valued at between
This piece at a good auction or a gallery would be $150 to $250.
Not bad return.
A unique collection of Playboy memorabilia was brought to be appraised. This guest presented with the 1976 Playboy Bunny of the Year costume she'd worn in the Chicago pageant, along with the accompanying trophy. This costume is in excellent condition and has unique features, such as the silver lame fabric and the accompanying tail and ears. Moreover, the trophy, a rare piece associated with the Bunny of the Year pageant, was also appraised. Additionally, the guest presented a program from the pageant. It featured signatures from notable celebrities like O.J. Simpson, Ringo Starr, and Milton Berle. An estimated value of the costume would be between.
What struck me the most about your suit is that when they do come up for auction, I've never seen one in such complete condition. You have every piece of it.
And the trophy and program were valued at a staggering.
So all together here, you have at least $8,200 to $11,300 worth of stuff.
Whoa, that's awesome!
An incredible firearm was brought to be appraised by the guest. Her father acquired the pistol in Germany, or Austria, during World War II. His father had obtained the pistol as a souvenir and had obtained written permission from his superior officer to bring it home. Many soldiers at the end of World War II brought back trophies of war, although doing so was not always permitted. This firearm is a German over and under pistol manufactured in the mid-18th century. It had originally been a flintlock, but was later converted to a percussion system in the 19th century. Additionally, over and under pistols were less common than paired pistols, as they allowed for 2 shots from a single firearm.
Was if you cock the hammer back, there's a little release here, and the barrels turn over.
It was marked with the name Walter, indicating its maker, who was from Nuremberg. Surprisingly, the conversion to a percussion system had diminished the value of the pistol. In its current condition, this pistol would sell at auction for approximately.
At auction, I would figure it would sell for about $2,000 to $4,000.
Really?
Yeah.
This guest brought in an antique musical instrument to be appraised. It had been passed down through their family, and it had been acquired by their father. This instrument is a rare over-the-shoulder horn, a type primarily used during the American Civil War and the latter half of the 19th century. These horns were specifically designed for American marching bands to stay in front of the army and maintain audibility. It was made by John Stratton, a prominent American maker known for his high-quality instruments. Stratton began his work in New York in 1859 and later moved to Germany. Surprisingly, the appraiser noted that while it needed some repairs, it could still be played. An estimated value of the horn would be around.
It's the type of thing you'd find a Civil War reenactment band musician paying perhaps $3,000 for.
This lady brought in a cherished piece of pre-Columbian art, a Colima dog figurine. She'd purchased it from an art collector in 1999 after seeing it in an exhibition. She was instantly drawn to the figurine and its connection to ancient Mexico, a culture that had always fascinated her. Its previous owner had jokingly referred to the dog as pregnant and named her Spot, a name the guest found fitting. It is identified as a Colmia pottery dog dating back to between 200 BC and 200 AD. Its exceptional condition, well-preserved patina, and firing mark are the evidence of its authenticity.
The shape and the form of her is the very best of the dogs that I've ever seen.
Oh, wonderful.
It is declared to be one of the finest Colima dog figurines they have ever seen, worthy of a museum collection. At auction, this beloved Spot is valued at a staggering.
And I feel that in the marketplace today, she's worth $9,000 to $12,000 at auction.
Oh my gosh.
Two Tiffany studio lamps, known for their unique design and craftsmanship, were brought in for evaluation. The smaller lamp features a geometric design with decorative elements known as the woodbine pattern. Displaying a swirling leaf or lemon leaf motif, the larger floor lamp stands out. Both lamps, likely from around 1905, feature transparent glass designed to maximize light in the early days of electricity and fuel lighting. These lamps had originally been owned by a close friend of the guest, who passed away in 2005. Tiffany Studios, New York. The signatures and serial numbers confirm the lamp's authenticity as early Tiffany pieces.
And I also wanted to point out this little signature tag here. That's actually a very early tag also.
Though the sockets were replaced, the original caps and decorative bases remain intact, enhancing their value. Together, the two Tiffany studio lamps have a combined insurance value of.
A lamp like this, I would recommend putting an insurance value of $85,000.
Okay.
They're both very nice examples, and I'm delighted to see them.
A unique painting, found hidden in a closet after the passing of the guest's mother, held an unexpected story. This artwork is signed by John Ray, an illustrator born in 1882, who studied under the well-known American illustrator, Howard Pyle. Ray illustrated about 50 books and was especially fascinated with Alice's adventures in Wonderland. He even wrote his own continuation of Alice's story in The New Adventures of Alice, published in 1917. This particular painting is a mashup of scenes from the two classic Alice books by Lewis Carroll. It blends the end of Alice's adventures in Wonderland with the start of Through the Looking Glass.
Of the two books by Lewis Carroll. So at the end of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, there are all these cards that fly up towards Alice.
Created with oil on an artist's board. The piece also features a real playing card as part of the collage. Less famous than Tenniel or Dali, Ray was known for portraits of Albert Einstein and Carl Sandburg. While a bit worn, the painting was valued at around.
I think in a retail setting, the asking price might be around $10,000.
Wow.
Not bad for something rescued from the trash.
Not bad for the trash, no.
In the mid-1970s, a keen-eyed flea market enthusiast stumbled upon a lithograph at a farmer's market. Initially framed unattractively, the collector snagged it for $15 and later had it reframed for display. This lithograph, Dust Storm, is by Robert Riggs, an artist renowned for his 1930s and 1940s illustrations and lithographs. Riggs, originally from Decatur, Illinois, worked primarily in Philadelphia and was influenced by American printmaker George Bellows. He's best known for his dynamic boxing scenes and his lithograph depicting the struggles of the Dust Bowl era. Dust Storm, circa 1941, powerfully depicts a dust storm, akin to Rothenstein's sheltering family. Riggs's Dust Storm, created for Purolator ads, is renowned for its dramatic contrasts and vivid portrayal of nature. Once an ad piece, the lithograph is now highly valuable due to its rarity and historical significance.
He produced between 50 and 100, most likely. Not a lot have survived. Many are in public collections.
In excellent condition, with only minor spots, the piece has a replacement value estimated at.
I would put a replacement value on yours at $15,000.
Whoa, winner, winner, winner.
A Gibson Explorer limited edition guitar from 1976 holds significant personal and historical value. Originally produced in 1958 and 1959 from Carina wood, these guitars were initially unpopular due to their unconventional shape. By the mid-1970s, Gibson reissued the Explorer, this time using mahogany and aiming to replicate the original model. This reissue has since become highly collectible. This guitar belonged to the guest's brother, a community theatre performer, band member, and guitar collector. Despite some normal wear and pitting, which are typical for guitars of this vintage, the Explorer remains in good condition.
The best way to clean these is saliva. Just enough acid to break down the oxidation without damaging the plating.
That's good to know.
As it marked the revival of the Explorer's line, the 1976 model is prized for its tone and distinctive gold wear. The current retail value of this guitar ranges between
retail is probably in the $3,000 to $4,000-ish range.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah.
This portrait of two children exudes a sense of immediacy and is truly captivating. having been passed down for generations on the guest's mother's side of the family. The painting is a finely executed work, with the subjects depicted beautifully.
Parents chose to include the crutches, embraced the disability of the older sister. She's got her hands on her brother.
The children's faces are expressive, and the room setting, along with their attire, likely dates the piece to the 1870s. In the 1870s, clothing for wealthier families was often quite elaborate, while those from less affluent backgrounds wore simpler, more practical garments. Furthermore, this is an oil painting, created using pigments mixed with oil, typically linseed oil, as a binder. The artist was clearly well trained, demonstrating a keen ability to paint faces and hands with remarkable skill. It's also beautifully executed. While portraits from this time period are often quite large, which can negatively impact their value in certain markets, this particular piece stands out. The subject matter, the detailed rendering, and the overall poignancy of the scene captivate viewers, sparking admiration and conversation. It is a truly remarkable piece, and if it were to appear at auction, it would be valued at.
And a conservative auction estimate would be $6,000 to $8,000. Insurance purposes, it probably would be around $15,000.
Wow.
It is somewhat unusual to find a Legion of Merit awarded to an Allied serviceman.
There were a number of them awarded to Soviet officers, and every once in a while you find one to a British or Commonwealth serviceman.
This particular medal was presented to the guest's father, who was tasked with cleaning the area ahead of the American landings in Normandy during the Second World War. Alongside the medal, we have a beautifully framed citation and a Distinguished Service Cross awarded by his own government. Additionally, the guest has provided a copy of the map, which is now displayed on the blackboard in the caves carved in the Chalk's Cliff beneath Dover Castle. It also includes a document containing written orders from his commanding officer. During the Dunkirk evacuation, the Navy identified him as someone with extensive knowledge of the local waters. Consequently, he was assigned to take the Galston lifeboat over to Dunkirk. The Battle of Dunkirk, also known as Operation Dynamo, occurred from May 26th to June 4th, 1940, in the town of Dunkirk, France, and it is a significant history of World War II.
If not for the dramatic evacuation of the BEF from the continent back to the island, it's very likely that the Germans could have won the war right then and there.
The presence of the Legion of Merit citation, directly linking it to the guest's father, along with the Distinguished Service Cross, underscores his significant contributions and enhances the value of the collection. However, historical value and monetary value often follow separate paths. The true worth of these items is embodied in the medals themselves.
Because that's where the collector's market is. Where the historical value is, where the humanitarian value is in this, is the material related to Dunkirk.
Therefore, the entire collection of these captivating pieces would be valued at.
The value for the entire grouping at retail today would be somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000.
I'm not going to sell it. It's going to stay in the family, but thank you.
Don't be fooled by appearances. This unassuming item holds a fascinating secret. The magic happens when you lift the lid. Inside, you'll discover a set of carefully numbered wooden sticks, each one meticulously crafted. The guest was initially puzzled by its purpose.
Now, you see, I hadn't any idea what that was. I thought it perhaps was something to do with cards.
This silver box, it turns out, was a crucial part of shooting parties.
What you would do is you would jumble them up, concealing the numbers by putting them in that way round. And when you were on a shoot,
it ensured a fair and impartial selection process for choosing guns each day, allowing everyone an equal chance. Remarkably, this tradition continues in some circles even today. Crafted with precision in London in 1927, this captivating box carries with it nearly a century of rich history.
And consequently, they're actually quite valuable things.
Interestingly, these unique boxes were often personalized with intricate engravings or distinctive markings. Given its unique nature and rich provenance, at auction, it could command a price between
£400 and £600 at the auction. Is that a delightful surprise?
That's amazing.
Arthur Casement is her great-grandfather, and he is a seaman. These medals link Arthur to Captain Scott's 1901 Antarctic expedition,
Now, Scott set off on that expedition. Of course, it was a massive expedition, but he got locked in the ice for 26 months.
A letter or document may provide context about the Antarctic journey. The Polar Medal honors Casement's bravery in polar expeditions, possibly Scott's 1901 journey. The medal on the left is the 1914 or 1914 to 15 star, marks his early service in the Great War. The Victory Medal, with its rainbow ribbon, symbolizes peace and Allied victory. These medals showcase Casement's dedication and resistance in military service and exploratory roles. The appraiser valued the item, recognizing its storied journey.
I think this would make 10 to 15,000 at auction. Oh.
During the 1916 campaign, his father met Kennedy at the airport and took him to events. The collection includes items signed by John F. Kennedy, also known as Jack Kennedy.
With a lengthy inscription down here to the governor. The governor Rolvog, with esteem and best wishes from his friend, Jack Kennedy.
The larger image shows Kennedy smiling and interacting with a crowd and the guest's father. Beneath the photos are documents, including a typed letter on official letterhead. Another handwritten note or letter is visible as well, likely signed by Kennedy.
To your father, he inscribed a copy of the book with warm personal regard and very best wishes, Jack Kennedy.
Signed photos and letters are valuable for their historical significance and Kennedy's legacy. The display shows preserved memorabilia linking to one of America's iconic presidents. Its historical charm was undeniable, and the appraiser valued the item.
The inscribed photo is worth $2,000 to $3,000 at auction. The letter, as senator, probably put an auction estimate on this of $1,500 to $2,000. The strategy of peace, I would say $1,500 to $2,000.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What we have here are authentic original puppets. The guests' aunt acquired these puppets, which were used in the production of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Including Rudolph and Santa, we had Yukon Cornelius, Herbie the Misfit Dentist, and a few others, including a sort of reindeer that got melted in our attic, thanks to my mom.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is a classic Christmas story about a young reindeer who is mocked by others because of his glowing red nose. The film was made in 1964 and has certainly earned a warm place in the hearts of many. The collection includes a young Rudolph and a Santa figure. The puppets are crafted from cloth, wood, and likely some plastic. These puppets feature articulated legs and necks, allowing for full movement and flexibility. However, these pieces are truly iconic, elevating them to an entirely different level. Though not toys, everyone who has seen them immediately recognizes and appreciates their charm. They are not in perfect condition. The nose has been replaced, the bowl is broken, and Santa's whiskers are missing. If these beautiful and remarkable pieces were to be appraised, they would be valued at
$8,000 to $10,000 for the pair. What it would go for at auction, that's anyone's guess.
Okay.
Evidently, the serial number on this guitar indicates that it was purchased brand new when it was acquired. The guitar originally belonged to the guest's father and was purchased by her great-grandmother.
I lost interest in the guitar, but we've just kept it. It's been in the closet. My great-grandmother purchased this sometime around 1930 to 31, somewhere around in there.
When it was first bought, the guitar was considered an inexpensive instrument. It features a brass body with nickel plating, complemented by a South American mahogany neck and an ebony fingerboard. The guitar includes internal resonators, an early attempt to amplify its sound, making this model one of the first of its kind. Moreover, it has 3 cones inside, earning it the name tricone, and these cones are made from stamped aluminium. However, these 3-cone models predate the later versions that feature only a single cone. Most of these guitars were intended for Hawaiian-style playing with a steel bar.
In fact, because so many of these guitars were played that way, people often think that Hawaiian steel refers to the fact that the guitar is made of metal.
The resonating cone functions similarly to the head of a Victrola, capturing the signal and driving a thin aluminium cone, while the body amplifies the sound. Additionally, this guitar shows a fair amount of what we call honest wear, but none of the edges are lifted and the seams remain intact. The retail value of this gently used guitar in a specialty shop would be a substantial figure of.
probably be $5,500 if it had that kind of history, and for good reason.
It's been in the family, and that's where it's going to stay. So.
Sure.
A portrait that captures both history and artistry, this intriguing painting is a family heirloom that offers us a window into the rugged world of the early 20th century. At first glance, it might seem like just another portrait, but oh, what a story it tells. The subject of the painting is none other than Ben Lilly, a legendary hunter and scout with a larger-than-life reputation.
He's like this mix of John Muir.
Imagine a man who guided Theodore Roosevelt and was known for his bare-handed battles with bears.
I mean, he is killing bears and cougars.
The artist behind this masterpiece is W. Buck Dunton, a prominent figure in the Tau Society of Artists. Dunton's work here showcases his signature style of intense brushwork, which creates an almost sculptural effect. This painting was done on canvas. There's an inscription that reveals the subject's identity, age, and the painting's origin. This small detail helps pinpoint the creation to around 1925 or 1926. The painting's journey from Tau to Cincinnati speaks volumes about the art market of the time. Despite its modest size, this oil painting packs a powerful punch in both artistry and historical significance.
In value. Even though this is only 7.5 by 5 inches, it's a little oil on canvas, it has the things we want.
As a slice of Western history, this painting is now worth between.
Conservatively, I would say it's worth about $12,000 to $18,000.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad it's not worth more than that.
Treasures from the past are always filled with unexpected discoveries and delightful surprises. Now, what surprises does this mysterious object have for us? An intriguing piece. It was found in an attic and has been a family mystery for decades. At first glance, it might seem like an ordinary wooden vessel.
An extremely important tankard to a family. Ceremonial, very good, and it comes from Norway.
But this is no ordinary tankard. It's a piece of Norwegian craftsmanship from the early 18th century. Crafted from burl birch, this tankard boasts both beauty and practicality. The burl's natural resistance to liquids makes it perfect for its purpose.
Any part of the burl of the tree is pretty resistant to liquids, which is why it makes the most sense to use it.
Look closely and you'll spot intricate details. Additionally, there's an early 18th century coin embedded right in its center. This tankard isn't like any other. It's a peg tankard, used for measuring out equal quantities. Imagine the stories this ceremonial piece could tell of family gatherings and celebrations. Despite some wear and a crimp in the silver, this piece has stood the test of time. For insurance purposes today, it would be best to insure it for.
You'd be talking a value of around $5,000 on it.
$5,000? That is just wonderful.
These bookends are not just decorative pieces, but rare works by renowned sculptor Harriet Frithmuth. The guest found the bookends at a yard sale about 20 years ago.
Like all yard sales, there's two things I look for, something I like and something that has the right price point, so it was probably about $3 to $5.
The appraiser identified them as works by Harriet Frithmuth, a prominent American sculptor from the early 20th century. Frithmuth's signature and the date 1912 are clearly visible on the bookends. She was known for sculpting active figures, especially dancers, and her pieces are in major museum collections. These bookends were cast by the prestigious Gorham Foundry, which kept detailed records of its work. The Foundry's code and the number 34 are also marked on the pieces. The Gorham archives can reveal details such as how many were made and when they were cast. While giving a value to the item, the appraiser said,
in terms of the value in a gallery setting, these would be about $10,000.
Awesome! Whoa! More than I paid for.
This Abbott and Downing coach is not just a relic, it's a stunning piece of American history. The guests mentioned that they bought a special Abbott and Downing coach at an auction about 5 years ago.
You paid how much for it?
It's about $2,500.
They liked it because of its great craftsmanship and its importance as a piece of American history. The appraiser explained that Abbott and Downing made Concord coaches, which were crucial for delivering mail during the gold rush. He thought this model was made in the early 20th century, praising its original paint and well-kept leather. He found it interesting that the coach didn't have any doors, as most Concord coaches did. The detailed work on the coach was impressive, especially the leather springs that were still intact. The name Diamond Tallyho was painted over an earlier number, making him curious about what the original name was. As a symbol of the American West, he estimated its auction value.
A good auction estimate for this terrific model would be somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay.
At a bustling charity auction, a charming 1930s Chad Valley doll took center stage. The soft Bambina Doll, dressed in her original felt, lay nestled in her fragile worn box. Despite the years, she remained in beautiful condition, a true collector's piece. Donated to St. David's Hospice, the auctioneer valued her between £50 and £80. The bidding began cautiously, but soon the room came alive. Offers climbed quickly as excitement grew with every new bid. At £100, anticipation peaked, and then it soared. The final hammer dropped at an incredible £300. The crowd erupted with cheers, celebrating the remarkable sale. Best of all, every penny would go to the hospice. It was a heartwarming win for charity. A peach can label holds not just fruit, but a World War I soldier's heartfelt letter from the trenches. A guest brought in a special item.
A label from a peach can that has a letter on the back from World War I.
It had belonged to his late uncle, who had likely recovered it from his father. The label, from a company called Jurgens, was a letter sent to a Brooklyn man by a soldier in the trenches of World War I. The soldier wrote about enjoying the can of peaches while in the trenches, describing how much they meant to him. He even joked that the peaches were worth fighting for. The appraiser noted the beauty of the label as a piece of early 20th century graphic art and explained how canned goods were crucial during the war for their durability and safety. The label alone might only be worth about $10. While examining the item, the appraiser said,
I would expect to see a retail value today for this in the neighborhood of $550 to $600.
Wow, not bad for a...
In this video from Antiques Roadshow, a woman presents a Mexican charro saddle gifted by her grandfather. The saddle was crafted in the late 1930s or 1940s. It features intricate maguey cactus fiber embroidery. The silver detailing was chiseled in Amazoc, Mexico. Its tree is made from mesquite wood, giving it a dark, rich color. The stirrups and conchos are silver mounted and hand chiseled. At auction, this saddle is valued between £6,000 to £8,000. The craftsmanship makes it a rare and irreplaceable item. Ordering a new saddle of this style would cost £10,000 to £12,000.
$6,000 to $8,000.
Wow.
So, you know, pretty good present from somebody.
Yes.
This is a particular style of saddle with the saddlebags.
It'll also take up to 2 years to complete. The saddle holds great sentimental value for the owner. It reminds her of her beloved grandfather, who gifted it to her. Discover how a $1 thrift store found a rare and valuable masterpiece by a celebrated Swedish textile designer. A thrift store found in Minnesota featured an intriguing textile. Initially, it seemed like a typical Scandinavian-inspired piece.
When I first saw this, I was thinking, well, we're in Minnesota.
Closer inspection revealed exceptional artistry and subtle color gradations. Shades ranged from fuchsia roses to blue-greens. The craftsmanship was notably superior. The textile was signed with the initials MMF. These initials stood for Marta Mas Federström. Federström was a prominent Swedish textile designer in the early 20th century. She began her workshop around 1918 and produced high-quality fabrics and rugs. Federström even designed the rugs for the Nobel Prize ceremonies. This smaller, hand-woven piece is quite rare and valuable. Its estimated retail value ranges from £2,000 to £4,000.
Because I would say with the popularity of Marta Mas Federström things in the market today, because it's really coming on.
A timeless painting by Henry Siddons Mowbray reveals its rich ties to American Renaissance art and family history. The appraiser admired the painting, created by the guest's grandfather, Henry Siddons Mowbray. Born in Alexandria in 1858, Mowbray studied in Paris and died in 1929. The guest thought the painting was from around 1895. Mowbray's work, influenced by classical themes and the American Renaissance, often featured muses and virtues. The guest remembered waking up to the painting as a teenager and preferred it to his grandfather's murals. The appraiser mentioned Mowbray's connections to Augustus St. Gaudens and the firms McKim, Mead and White, who commissioned him for mansions. The painting's soft palette and classical themes made it a fine example of the era. While examining the item, the appraiser said,
"At auction, I would estimate it at between $50,000 and $75,000.
Wow. I could never sell it, unfortunately. It would stay in the family."
The guest said it would stay in the family. Not just a beer poster, it's a rare 1900s Anheuser-Busch classic with original frame and rich details. The guest shared that about 30 years ago, their father bought a nightclub.
My father had bought a nightclub about 30 years ago, and it was in the nightclub when he bought it, and he took it down and took it home.
And inside it was an old Anheuser-Busch beer poster. The father hung the poster at home for years before wrapping it up and storing it away. The nightclub was in Lamond, Missouri, near Jefferson Club, and about 110 miles from St. Louis. The appraiser estimated the poster to be from around 1900, noting how it used a picture of a woman showing a bit of her skirt, quite daring for the time, to sell beer. The frame, which includes the name Anheuser-Busch and pictures of hops and wheat, was original to the poster and made it more valuable. The appraiser also pointed out the fine details, like the necklace with the Anheuser-Busch A, an eagle, and the writing on a beer bottle. The poster and its frame were valued by the appraiser.
I would put its auction estimate conservatively at $2,000 to $3,000.
Goodness.
That's an awful lot of beer.
Yes, it sure is.
Old rugs carry hidden stories, like a 1930s Bellucci rug once used to smuggle hashish. A guest shared the story of acquiring a rug over 40 years ago while living in the East Bay. His neighbor, who frequently traveled, offered him the rug in exchange for looking after his plants and pets.
Price, it was, I don't know, $50, $60, something like that.
Not long after, federal agents came looking for the neighbor, revealing he was smuggling hashish inside carpets. Unsure of the rug's true value, the guest had wondered about it for decades. The appraiser identified it as a tribal rug from the Bellucci tribe, likely from the 1930s. During the 70s and 80s, such rugs were often used by drug smugglers, who became more selective over time to maximize their profits. The appraiser valued the rug.
Say it would retail for around $800.
Really?
It can very easily be restored.
He recommended restoration, suggesting it would be a good investment. The guest was pleasantly surprised by the appraisal. Did you know Old Salem houses the most comprehensive collection of Moravian ceramics in America? A guest brought in what she believed was a doll from her great-great-grandmother, originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Despite looking like a porcelain doll, the appraiser identifies it as.
This is a very rare bottle.
Ooh.
It was made by Moravian potters.
Right.
In Salem, North Carolina.
Created by potters in Salem between 1810 and 1830, this type of flask features a hole where a cork would have been, explaining the unusual feature mistaken for a doll's hair. Old Salem was renowned for its pottery, producing various forms like squirrels, fish, and turtles, with the doll design being one of the more common ones. The flask was mold-made rather than hand-thrown, adding to its collectible value. With the addition of a necklace by the guest's grandmother, the item's appearance was further altered. The appraiser confirmed that in its original state, the flask could fetch.
Would sell at auction for between $15,000 and $25,000.
The guest, astonished by this valuation, decided to continue dusting the flask. An auction win revealed a trove of Fred Rogers personal letters and postcards at a local auction. Someone thought they were bidding on a single Victorian-era Valentine's Day postcard. They were surprised to win the entire box for $1 instead of just the postcard. The box turned out to be a shoebox full of personal memorabilia. Among the items were postcards featuring Fred Rogers, the host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Seeing Rogers intrigued them, as he was a beloved figure in public television. The postcards were written in Rogers' handwriting and addressed to what seemed like family. In the letters, Rogers asked about their well-being and if there was interest in his show in Cleveland. The find felt special due to Rogers' iconic status. The postcards were from the mid-1960s, when Rogers had returned from Canada. He'd previously hosted the Mr. Rogers Show in Canada before starting Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in Pittsburgh in 1966. One letter mentioned ETV, and Rogers hoped to expand the show into Cleveland. By 1970, PBS picked up the show, leading to its growth. The postcards, all signed by Rogers, were estimated to be worth $1,500 to $2,500, making the discovery valuable and enjoyable.
Thinking about the idea that if they didn't pick it up, what we would have missed, the three letters, I would say conservatively on a retail value is $1,500 to $2,500. Conservatively, as a package, and they're just so much fun. I mean, what can you say?
A cherished heirloom, this miniature reveals a hidden legacy of artistry and significant value. It was purchased about 40 years ago by her husband's aunt. The aunt lived in Richmond and went to Williamsburg for a day of shopping. She found it on a center table, prominently displayed. After convincing her husband, they bought it. There was no receipt or information provided with it. The item bears the signature of E.J. Cupjack, or Eugene Cupjack. Eugene Cupjack was active in the late 1930s, creating miniature rooms for the Thorne family. His work can be seen in the Art Institute of Chicago today. The piece was likely completed in the 1950s. Miniatures like this are now highly valued at auction. This is what the appraiser said about its worth.
So if I were to estimate this at auction today, and I think we're conservative, we would say between $5,000 and $7,000.
That's amazing.
A hidden gem of American folk art, this intricately carved bird tree could soar to new heights at auction. He attended an auction in Tonganoxie 4 or 5 years ago. He saw the item and he thought it was neat. After waiting all day, it finally went up for sale. His competitor decided it wasn't worth it and walked away. He didn't know much about the piece, stored in a shed behind the house. It turned out to be a beautiful example of American folk art. The piece resembles Pennsylvania German bird trees, though it could have been made locally. The carving is intricate, featuring scenes like a mother robin feeding her young. It likely dates back to the late 19th or early 20th century. The appraiser had this to say about its worth.
And I'll go out on a limb and say, you know, it could bring closer to $10,000 at auction.
Nice.
A rare archive of personal documents from Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt's inner circle. The guest brought historic documents that once belonged to her cousin, who had served as Mrs. Roosevelt's personal maid. After her cousin passed, she inherited the archive. She mentioned visiting the White House 3 times during President Roosevelt's time in office. She once witnessed the president having his portrait painted. The collection, consisting of about 100 pieces, includes greeting cards, Mrs. Roosevelt's calling card, and numerous letters. Most of the correspondence began after her cousin left the White House. One standout piece is a photograph of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt from Christmas 1941, showing Eleanor knitting and Franklin reading, portraying a serene home life. The archive's value was stated as such.
A conservative auction estimate for the entire archive would be around $8,000 to $12,000.
Oh my,
yeah.
Wonderful.
The owner was delighted by this estimate. Imagine accidentally buying the works of a key figure in the civil rights movement, whose works is still celebrated in art galleries and museums for its depth and focus on African American identity and history. This guest and his son attended an auction on a rainy day, purchasing a box for $45 without closely inspecting its contents. The box was left to dry for days, and upon inspection, they found a painting wrapped in saran wrap. In a crazy turn of events, the painting turned out to be an original Benny Andrews, a renowned African-American artist and activist. The appraiser admired its beauty, noting its striking colors, especially the vibrant yellow dress, even stating,
Benny Andrews is a favorite artist of mine, an African-American artist who did incredible work.
Although Andrews became famous for his collage, this painting showcases his early work in oil and tempera. The appraiser highlighted its rarity, as Andrews' early 1960s works were mostly on paper, valuing it at
auction, conservatively, at $7,000 to $10,000.
You're freaking kidding me.
The guest was quite happy with the news. You ever heard the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure? This phrase is quite fitting in this guest's case. The guest discovered a hidden treasure on their morning walk, a lamp with an intriguing backstory. At first, the guest planned to give it away, calling the lamp ugly, before her neighbor suggested.
I ran over to my neighbor and asked him if he could cut the cord off and fix it. He said the plug alone is really old and that I should wait and find out about the lamp.
Little did she know, she'd picked an exquisite Louis Comfort Tiffany creation. It dates back to between 1920 and 1928, showcasing the artistry of Louis C. Tiffany Furnace's ink. It features a gilded bronze base adorned with an enamel design and a stunning damascene blown glass shade in a rare caramel color. The shade itself is a marvel of craftsmanship, displaying iridescence and bearing the trademark LCD Favril. This particular lamp in a retail setting could fetch between.
Something like this could sell for between $10,000 and $15,000.
To preserve its worth, the appraiser suggested rewiring it and
Please don't ever transport it in one piece with the shade on like you did, because the bulk of the value is in this shade.
Imagine being able to retire thanks to a 2,000 times profit on an item bought for less than the cost of dinner. On a memorable day in 2017 in St. Lucia, guests stumbled upon a stunning yet slightly damaged bronze bodhisattva at a local garage sale. Despite its missing arm and worn gilt, the guest was captivated by its beauty, instantly buying it for.
Inquire what you paid for it?
Probably between $75 and $100.
Little did they know, this seemingly unremarkable piece was actually a rare 15th century Ming Dynasty sculpture. The appraisers were thrilled to examine this exquisite item, featuring detailed drapery, elegant ribbon work, and a serene face. Its style, characterized by a chubby visage and seated in royal ease, pointed to its early Ming origins. At the time of this appraisal, the piece was estimated to bring
Very conservative retail price would be $100,000 to $125,000.
leaving the guest absolutely overjoyed.
Are you really serious? Oh my goodness.
In a twist of events, the second appraisal from expert appraisers at Sotheby's revealed the item was believed to be from the 7th to 10th century AD, Tang Dynasty. In the end, the original appraiser notes that the item did exceedingly well at auction, stating,
It sold for in excess of $2 million. And the $2 million would represent a buyer's premium, and certainly a multiple of both the estimate given at Sotheby's and our appraisal.
This doll has been in the family for over 50 years. The owner's mother bought it for her, but didn't let her play with it. She had it appraised twice, once for $1,600 and another time for $3,000. This little doll, made by Schmidt and free of Paris, France, is known as a French bébé. She's wearing her original French costume, complete with a little straw hat, lace dress, wonderful socks, and original labeled shoes. She's made of bisque with paperweight eyes and a composition body. She's marked under her little wig as SH, which stands for Schmidt and 000. She has pierced ears with original Torx earrings. It was made in 1880.
They were sold as the finest French dolls. Beautifully made, very excited to see her.
This doll at retail would sell for
$16,000 to $18,000.
Oh my goodness.
In 1975, Colonel Sanders lived next to the guest's house. After selling his own home and having nowhere to stay, he lived with the guest's family for 6 months. At a Halloween costume party, the guest wanted to look like Colonel Sanders and borrowed his suit. Colonel Sanders later gifted the suit to the guest because he looked so good in it. Colonel Sanders started his chicken business in 1930 in Corbin, Kentucky. After becoming a hit, he franchised it in 1952. He lived to the ripe old age of 90.
His favorite food was actually White Castles.
He visited different Kentucky Fried Chicken stores to ensure their chicken was being made correctly, but eventually grew tired of eating so much chicken. He was known for being picky, and he had a specific way he liked things done, from his recipes to the appearance of his stores.
You can also see on the inside of the suit that it does have the label, which reads Warren Kluk tailored especially for Colonel H. Sanders.
The collection also includes black tie and signed reprint canvas. Value of the signed canvas is
Valued at about $300 to $500.
and the remarkable suit can get a value of.
It would bring between $30,000 and $50,000.
My gosh, you're kidding me.
And it's sold for charity for $80,000.
Oh my gosh.
Looking at this plaque, one would think it's just a costume jewelry that is worthless because of its shape and style. However, the design and style that look like a snail shell is actually rock crystal, and the flash of color at the middle is a line of fine Burmese rubies. The white stones along the border of the rubies are diamonds, and the shape make it confusing as to how to wear it. Moreover, there is a labelled clip at the back confirming that it can be worn as a brooch, and a word inscribed at the back, which is Chaumet. Chaumet was a firm of manufacturers in Paris who made fine pieces of jewellery from 1780 to 1912 and were patronised by Napoleon. Although Chaumet's jewellery is worth a great deal, this clip is a modest piece, so it won't be worth as much. The piece has a sign that it shows it was made in France, and at the bottom of the little French control marks. Therefore, because of the singularity of this piece, a reasonable estimate at auction would be.
I think if it was sold in an auction, we're looking at something in the realms of £2,000 for it.